please, welcome.
Sorry, I did not hear clearly, but just tell me when should I start.
Now we are ready. We are listening. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm sorry for these technical problems. I wish I were able to join you there. It would be much warmer here in Finland than Finland, even it's minus 5 to 9 degrees this morning. Everything is covered by ice and snow. That's why I'm wearing a pullover. Anyhow, glad to join you this morning, and I wish to run through with you these 33 slides in about 40 minutes, which will give us some time for discussion if it technically succeeds. Anyhow, just a few words about myself first. I am an 83-year-old person soon, and I was schooled, educated in Helsinki, the University of Helsinki, with a PhD in the 69, sorry. So I'm a child of the 60s. I used to work as a freelance journalist since the age of 15 as a schoolboy, and I even did read in the Cyprus the UN forces, which included a Finnish battalion, exactly 60 years ago. That was my first trip to the developing region, so to say. So a lot of memories which I would have liked to refresh, but unfortunately it wasn't possible this time. I have worked in two places only, the University of the first as a junior faculty in 65, and then in the Finnish Broadcasting as head of research. And finally, since 1971, as professor of journalism and mass communication. I had just turned 30 when I got by chance this first professorship in Scandinavia in electronic media. Then I have been active in both national and international spheres, in media research, the media politics, and perhaps my best-known profile has been the presidency International Organization of Journalists in the late 70s through 80s. The IAMCR is, or used to be, one of the so-called international democratic organizations. It was closed to Moscow in this global world of the East and West. It combined the journalists in the Eastern Hemisphere, Eastern Europe, and also the developing countries. So, with this profile, let's move on to the outline of my talk. First on anthropocene, a little bit, then on broad terms of history, of colonialism to the current multiple world, with the current trends of militarization and violence. And finally, some notes about the media politics and peace journalism. So I am mostly covering the world at large, coming to the media only at the end. And my talk could be seen like a portal of specific takes on the topic, which you can have access through my PowerPoints, which are available by organizers. Now, first to the Anthropocene. This concept is a geological epoch since significant human impact on Earth. First, in the Neolithic revolution, 10 to 15,000 years ago, affecting the Earth's ecosystem. That changed human lifestyle from hunting and gathering to one of agriculture, making large populations in various parts of the globe, notably in Africa, Asia. I don't want to make these hyperlinks now during the presentation because that would complicate our technical performance, but you are welcome to look at those references, which hopefully enrich your experience, don't know them already. Now, in the 18th century, the Industrial Revolution hastened the change, and we are now going further to see that the Anthropocene is even a more recent phenomenon, character in the human history, or the world history, since the Second World War. Now, I find the concept very, well, it was first of all a historical note that it was not the first thing of this kind of sphere being invented, because already a Russian scholar, geologist Vernadsky, in the 20s had invented this concept together with French colleagues, noosphere, very interesting departure from the main line. And for him, whole Earth's development was divided to three stages. First, geosphere, lifeless geosphere, then a biosphere, and then with human activity involved, noosphere. Now, I welcome these concepts because they are a very handy instrument to adopt a really wide and all-encompassing look at the world history. I recommend very much for even media scholars them the broad context for our thinking. Now, history. Colonialism, first of all, in human history. We know broadly that, but it's useful to revisit the colonial history and its definition. By 1914, the vast majority of world nations had at some point been colonized, and by now they are more or less free from colonization. However, there are some problems which will come later. But first, there is a very interesting animated map of 500 years of European colonialism, which I would like to run through quickly with you. Beginning with the time when Columbus invented America, with the main colonial powers, Britain, France, Spain, Portugal, conquering gradually overseas, especially in Mid and South America, with the Spanish and also Portuguese colonization later. For some reason, I don't know the. Well, okay, we go on. And we see that gradually most of the surface of the world under colonialism, including Russian colonialism. But then, towards the 21st century, colonialism was removed, and well, when you run through this backwards, you see the development, and back again, it was a very drastic change. Now, from colonialism, the revolutions by the oppressed people, the independence movements, later in the 20th century, led to a gradual undoing of colonialism, decolonization. And it also refers to the economic and cultural aspect of the colonial influence. When UN was founded in 1945, on the basis of a pre-war deep connections, as much as 1/3 of the people, the world's population was living under colonial rule, and today it's more or less gone. But it's only formally gone because while the decolonization changes the face of the planet, the economic structures of colonialism still persisted as what we call neo-colonialism. Cold War, then, the next stage in the history with the US-led West and the Soviet-led East, was a second global trend for the process colonialism and decolonization. It broke out in the 40s, late 40s, 48 typically, and was intensified by the arms race, including nuclear weapons, mass destruction, between the two great powers and the military alliance of NATO. First NATO established 1949, and then followed by a pushback in the mid-50s. Cold War mobilization involved the northern hemisphere, while developing countries had their own mobilization around the non-violent movement from the time of the so-called Bandung Conference. By the 60s, the world was divided in three geopolitical spheres: typically East, socialist countries led by Soviet Union, West, under the American leadership, and Europe, Western Europe, and South. In the late 60s, detente between East and West enabled the USA and the USSR to agree on disarm and promote cooperation, highlighted by the Helsinki Conference in 1975, or the Conference of Security and Cooperation in Europe. That happens to be very close to us Finns, including me, attending some of the events of that Helsinki summit, remembering physically the moments were done. In '85, next landmark is the Soviet Communist Party changing its direction from a former Stalinist line to perestroika and glasnost by Mikhail Gorbachev. However, the USSR began to disintegrate, and with its dissolution in '91 led to several independent republics, including the Russian Federation. So this led then actually into so-called collapse of the Eastern European order, with landmarks such as all of the Berlin Wall and re-election of Germany. A lot of history of that, as we know. Some of you already remember those days. Now, the end of the Cold War came gradually in the 90s, but the Persian Gulf War broke out in Iraq and the US-led coalition 1991, and it was followed by the Second Gulf War against Iraq, 2003 and 2011. The Cold War with East-West confrontation was thus was not replaced by worldwide peace, while alongside the Gulf Wars, also international terrorism emerged, as dramatically shown in by 11. Some called it the New World Order, and in this new world, things were like American centered. The American dominance was accompanied by globalization, connected to national economies, connecting actually national economies with interdependence of peoples and countries. In reality, however, the world was never truly unipolar, and as the US hegemony was challenged after 2000 by not only the EU, but also China with its constant economic growth, and a new geopolitical entity called BRICS, Russia, India, South Africa. We had in Tampere, under my leadership, the first media study among BRICS countries launched 2012, and it was run for 4 years. And we still have a network of BRICS scholars, media scholars, following up developments. Now, other regional bodies also became active, and in the 2010s, globalization was gradually met by increasing protectionism by countries and regions. Actually, the world had become multipolar on political, economic, religious, and cultural fronts. So we had a multipolar world, which got a new challenge in the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and it was a shock to the international community. Here is the voting chart from the United Nations. Right few days after the invasion, showing that there were 141 countries in favor of condemning Russia, against 5, and 34 abstentions, mainly from the global south, typically the non-aligned movement and several BRICS partners, including China. While an overwhelming majority of the journalists had voted in favor of condemnation, the Security Council was unable to accept. As a permanent member, Russia vetoed with tacit support of China. So the UN was kind of paralyzed. A reverse situation occurred with Israel's war in Gaza, which was retaliating to Hamas atrocities on 7th of October. Almost all UN members condemned Israel, but the USA vetoed in the Security Council, and thus UN was deprived of really tangible action. So Western attempts to rally against Russia and in a way also against the Russian support in the south with the theme democracy was not very successful, as it turned out that less than half of the world's population lives in countries which can be classified as democracies. You can, if you don't know this democracy index made in Britain in fairly objective grounds, you're welcome to look at this hypothesis. Now, after the Cold War, there was only a short period of disarmament and preference peaceful solutions. After 2000, an underlying uncertainty and distrust around the world created security needs among both political leaders and the general public, and that facilitated support to general militarization around the world. This is one of the contemporary megatrends. This megatrend was completed by the Russian against Ukraine, which suddenly raised the status of NATO, leading Finland and Sweden to join, both having before the Ukraine war orientation of international neutrality, or at least they refrained from military alliances. Overnight, the situation was changed. So Russia's invasion was a dramatic push. Here you have some facts about the military balance, military relations between Russia and American NATO. See, the Stockholm International Visitors Institute is compiling periodically very useful statistics, military expenditures in the world, which 2 years ago or 3 years ago was, well, actually 2 years ago they published this figure showing how a new record level had been reached with the military county by financial investment to the sector. And it was not only America and Russia and China, but it was all over the world. Different regions contributed, of course, predominantly America and also bigger sales. Now, next to militarization, the other big megatrend of the day is environment, which grew in the 70s until the limits of growth. And the first UN Conference on Environment was held in 1972, starting a process making environmental problems prominent topics of public thought. My professional life coincides this period from early 70s, when I became professor, until today. I have lived through this rise of environmental consciousness, and I'm sure all of you have been able to jump to this same wagon over the years. In 50 plus years, the environmental hazards, including climate change, have been recognized. Government, civil societal activism has been mushrooming among different, not only government, also non-governmental circles, including business, and with Greta Thunberg showing also the school children. In climate change, the leading authority is International Committee for you'll get the links here, and its latest report is very revealing. Here, just adding as an example, one of the revealing illustrations showing the different options for future, with first the global warming at the level, the Paris Agreement, 1.5 degrees, and then more dramatic changes, and it means the level both heat and also the oceanic repercussions, which have dramatic effects in the long run. Compare world military expenditures to expenditure by countering environmental problems, and you see that although no data are available, still obviously the military gets 10 or tens of times more than environment. Counting all megatrends, notably militarization and environment, the world is in this order, and the prospects are very bleak, as we see from various observations. My opinion, by the way, is that Putin's biggest mistake has not been killing of hundreds of thousands Russian compatriots and Ukrainians, but provoking a historical process of change, which I could even dramatically call a soft entry to the World War III. Now, let's move from this gloomy perspective of the world to media aspect. And I first just take you through a quick panorama of what has happened in the media, international media policies from the 70s to 2010s. This is my standard classification of what has happened. First of all, next to general decolonization, there was a decolonization of information sector led by the non-aligned movement and the invention of the idea of the new international information order, whereby everything in media starting with international news agencies and ending up with the running of the radio, local radio stations, etc., was influenced. And in Tunisia there was a meeting which I had the honor of attending as observer of the Finnish government. It was a very interesting and dramatic offensive by the South to try to counter what was understood as information imperialism. So the support to this movement was the general decolonization process at the UN. Then it was followed in 1976 by a couple of years of Western counterattack, and particularly the publisher and the private broadcaster associations in the West and other lobbies did mobilize themselves against this new information idea, and they had a body which by now is already gone, but it very influential what we call the World Press Freedom Committee. Then 1978 to 8, only 2 years, something happened which I call the truth in the international media war, media policy war, namely progress through compromise, with landmarks such as the mass media declaration given by UNESCO and also the McBride report established by a committee, and you have here references to both of them. Then stage 4 and stage 5 follow, which more or less go with the general development. Stage 4 means that the Western countries led by Reagan's USA and Thatcher's UK put stop to this launch of promoted by the non-aligned movement and supported by the Eastern Hemisphere, led by Russia or Soviet Union at the time. But then, after the Cold War, there was a stage 5 when earlier controversies were put aside and slogans of information were more placed on the side, although much of its reality seems to be still remaining. But the UN took the leadership and continued the World Summit on Information Society, WSIS. That belongs to the general basic knowledge all media students should belong. I also, with my student from Tampere, had a pleasure of attending in Geneva 2003, the SPA that you estimate now. Now, finally to peace journalism and media study. Today, peace as a topic is buried in the media under everything else. But in the 80s, it had a profile as shown by rallies worldwide. Here in New York, during the UN Special Session on disarmament in June '82. On this occasion, I delivered at the IATEC president a 10-minute address to the General Assembly. We have a possibility to listen to or see an expert over that here. If it succeeds, but I'm not sure I'll try if this hybrid works. If it doesn't, you can get access to it later. Let me ask, does it go through? Did you see that and hear it? No. I don't hear you. Should we go on for a couple of minutes more?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
You cannot see it. Yeah, because he can't share it. He has to share it and what's on the screen. But when he said, shall we go on for a few minutes, I think he thought we need to, he thinks we're watching it. Yeah.
Yes.
We are still in slide 41, and there are 2 more slides to finish the presentation.
Yeah, well, they take just 2 minutes more. But shall we finish this expert from the UN, or shall we go straight to the slides?
Go straight to the slides because there are 2 more slides to finish the presentation.
Yes, yes. Well, then I think I recommend to practice when talk. Well, let me run to the end of it, and you will.
The extra of the post is here. I think it's a link that is supposed to go to video.
Yeah.
However, it is not playing in here. That's why we cannot follow it.
Okay. Now I'm not sure if I get back to the slides. Sorry. I missed this was fatal departure from the from your new island, but in my screen, for some reason. This happens when you are not prepared properly, and I'm paid as professor of chronic journalism and media. It's so accomplished with this gadget, but I'm afraid I have to close this whole connection and open it again. Perhaps we get to the last slide, or you don't see them. Do you see the? Do you get the slides in your master computer?
We are on the slides 31st. Journalism in the media studies.
And 30.
And I can go for the 32 and the 33 if you want.
They are both there. You can see them.
Yes.
Then I am paralyzed only because I have no access to the video now. But maybe you can open the 32,
Yes, we are in there.
which shows the my sample of peace studies in media field, some literature references that you people may know or not know, but anyhow, that's my sort of reminder of the state of the art. And then the last slide, I'm kind of concluding there without too much concrete recommendations. A lot of them are available, but I want to save you that aspect. It would be another opportunity for discussing, and then perhaps when I would make my physical visit in the Fama latest 2 years from now. And I think the slide speaks for itself. And to the end of it, I'm just wishing you a very good and successful conference. No need for me to comment more closely. You got it?